everyone, it's Helen Hotai here, the diary reader. Let's get into some diary reading. Hi everyone, apologies that I haven't posted in the last couple of weeks. We had a death in the family and my beautiful brother-in-law Vicki, he passed away. Unfortunate for us, but I know that our loved ones on the other side of the veil are happy to have Vicki back, and I know that Vicki is not resting or relaxing. I'm pretty sure he's doing work, so there's lots of work to be done. So just with that intro, I've always had a fascination. Oh, and just sorry, before I carry on, just my love out to my beautiful sister Boiva and her family, and yeah, we all love you guys, and we continue to pray and think of you guys. And I know that Vicki might not be here in body, but he is with you guys in spirit, and you know that too. And the beauty of the gospel is that unfortunately there's lots of people out there who believe that once you die, that's it. Whereas in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we believe that life continues after death. So we know, well, I can speak for myself. I have a testimony that families can be together forever, and that's through our Saviour's atonement, through the plan of salvation, that makes it possible. And I have this great fascination with near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences. So throughout the years, as I've come across, so I've read in the Book of Mormon, there's an account of a prophet by the name of Alma. So in his younger days, he was a bit rebellious. So his father, Alma, well, I'll just call him Alma Senior. His father was a prophet, and Alma the younger, being the son, he was, one of these rebellious young people who rejected the gospel. He went against everything that his father, as a prophet of God, taught. And, as maybe we all do, or some of us do, we go through a stage where we're trying to find ourselves and learning about ourselves and maturing. So Alma the younger, he went through an experience where he became very sick, and he had a spiritual awakening, a spiritual experience where he was able to be taught on high and ministered to by angels. And he was able to gain a testimony for himself that everything that his father had taught him was actually true, and that it was of God. Anyway, I just have this great fascination with I just love reading about people's out-of-body experiences and their near-death experiences. And I don't need to read their experiences and their stories to know that that God does live and that he has a son, Jesus Christ. And I don't need to read their experiences to know that, but it's just amazing. I just love reading about them and just the extra insights that people share when they go through their near-death experiences. And I've come across a couple of stories or accounts that people have had, and I'll share those with you. I'll read them. That way, just break up you guys having to listen to my diary entries. Okay, so this is a story by a public speaker named Anita Moorjani. Now, this is what the article says. It says, diagnosed with lymphoma in 2002. Moorjani, who considers herself more spiritual than religious, was losing her cancer battle, weathering down to just 85 pounds and battling tumours from the base of her skull to her abdomen, and she slipped into a coma in February of 2006. She said that when she died and crossed over to an afterlife, I felt as though I was above my body, she said. It was like I had 360-degree peripheral vision of the whole area around, but not just in the room where my body was in, but beyond the room. According to Moorjani, the author of the new book Dying to Be Me, she was reunited in that state with her late father, who told her to turn back. He said that I've gone as far as I can. He said that I've gone as far as I can, and if I go any further, I won't be able to turn back, she said. But I felt I didn't want to turn back because it was so beautiful. It was just incredible. Because for the first time, all the pain had gone, all the discomfort had gone, all the fear was gone. I just felt so incredible, and I felt as though I was enveloped in this feeling of just love, unconditional love. Citing an incredible clarity where everything started to make sense, she said she decided to return to her body because she believed it would heal very, very quickly, and it did. Within 4 days, my tumours shrunk by 70%, and the doctors were shocked, she said. And I kept telling everyone that I know I'm going to be okay. I know it's not my time to die. Moorjani isn't alone in connecting a crossing over experience to healing. Okay, I've got one more here. So, Anabel Beam was diagnosed at age 4 with chronic digestive disorder. 8-year-old Anabel Beam experienced intense pain and frequent hospital visits. She was always so sweet and gracious, her father Kevin told Today. She wasn't making a big deal out of it, and she was suffering in silence. But the suffering started to overwhelm Anabel. I told my mum, Mama, I want to die and go to heaven with Jesus, where there is no more pain. I don't want to be in this much pain for the rest of my life. And so I was so committed to just giving up that sometimes whenever I couldn't sleep, I'd kind of try and figure out what would happen if I did die. Then I decided my mum would come with me and my dad would stay and watch my sisters. Anabel's mother, Chrissy, refused to believe what she'd heard. I remember thinking, that's not what she said, Chrissy recalled. She doesn't know anything about giving up. She's a fighter. Days later, Anabel said she fell 30 feet from a branch that cracked while she was sitting on it with her sister, Abby. She claims that after bumping her head 3 times on the way down and falling into the hollowed out base of the tree, she died and went to heaven. It was really bright, and I sat on Jesus' lap, and he told me, whenever the firefighters get you out, there will be nothing wrong with you. Anabel recalled, and I asked him if I could stay in, and he said, no, I have plans you need to fulfill on earth that she cannot fulfill in heaven. A few days later, she told her family about her experience. She was very matter-of-fact, this is what's happened, not at all animated, just, here are the facts, Chrissy said, and then she stopped talking and looked out the window for the rest of the trip. Now symptom-free Anabel has gone from taking 10 daily medications to none. She fell 30 feet head first without any injuries or one bug bite, her mum said. She came out of that tree hours later, wet, muddy, and with scratches, and she's well. Oh, just as I read the part about the tree, I realised, oh yeah, I've seen that movie. So the tree which toppled due to the weather remains in the Beam family front yard beside a cross Kevin carved after the accident. Okay, now I'm going to share some near-death experiences from a website called thirdhour.org, and I will place some links in the description box below. Okay, let's get started on these ones. Okay, so one interesting case was reported in 1995 by K.M. Dale, MD. So the account involved a 9-year-old boy whose fever went on for nearly 36 hours before it broke in the hospital. As soon as he opened his eyes at 3 a.m., the boy urgently told his parents, who had been keeping vigil, that he had been to heaven and had seen his deceased grandpa, aunt, and uncle. As startling as that was, The boy went on to say he also saw his 19-year-old sister, a student away at college at the time, who told him he had to go back. Now, because of the boy's story, his parents phoned the college where the sister had been attending and were told that she had been killed in a car accident just after midnight. Now, college officials had tried unsuccessfully to reach the family at their home to let them know the tragic news. Oh, wow, how tragic for that poor family. Okay, so that was the experience of a 9-year-old boy. Wow. I suppose it would have been comforting that he got to actually see his sister, even though she was, I don't know, she must have been a fair ways away for college, and he got to see his sister and his was it his grandpa and his auntie and uncle. Okay, our next account comes from a lady by the name of Vicki Umipeg, a 45-year-old woman who was blind from birth. Now, she described floating above her body in the ER after a car accident. She said she watched as the doctor and nurse worked to repair the damage to her body and explained in detail what she saw. Now, she described being taken up through a tunnel-like structure toward light, culminating in a world where she saw trees, birds, and flowers, and encountered deceased friends and relatives who were made of light, she said. This was the only time I could ever relate to seeing and to what light was because I experienced it. Wow, what an amazing near-death experience and a miracle for her, because for 45 years of her life on earth she has been blind from death, and then she gets blessed, or she gets to experience what birds actually look like, what trees look like. Instead of just feeling, she can now use the sense of her eyes. So man, that would have been such an amazing experience for her. But just like from what I've read and listened to, like when people encounter heaven, like everything is like amplified by 1,000 times. Like the colors, the sounds, everything is just magnified, and it's they describe it as being indescribable. Like it's hard for them to explain or describe what they see, in the limited words or language that we have. It's almost like the language that we have does not give justice to what they have experienced and seen. So that's a pretty amazing, or it's a miracle and a blessing that Vicki got to experience that. Okay, so the next one is so in a rare occurrence, prominent LDS researcher Arvin Gibson documented the testimony of an entire group of elite Mormon firefighters called the Hotshots. So of the hundreds of near-death experiences that I've read and listened to and watched, I can't say that I've ever come across a shared experience, actually, I was just thinking of King Lamoni and his wife. I don't know if that was a shared one, but Lamoni had his near-death experience, and then his wife followed soon after, and they both came to and were able to share that experience. Anyway, sorry, going off track, coming back on track. So we're talking about the Hotshots here, a group of firefighters. So in 1989, they succumbed to the flames only to return with a shared NDE, or near-death experience. They all saw each other outside their seemingly lifeless bodies after the forest fire they were fighting engulfed them. So they were each promised by a being, whom they interpreted to be God, that upon returning to mortality their bodies would not be burned. When they were all revived, remarkably none were burned, though the mountainside where they had been working was completely destroyed. So there's a miracle right there. That whole mountainside was destroyed, yet, they suffered no harm. They weren't burnt, nothing. and they recognized that voice, who they interpreted to be God, that he assured them that they would be all right, that they would not be burned. So yeah, an amazing NDE there by a group of firefighters, and they all saw each other as they were outside their bodies. They saw their lifeless bodies. So yeah, that's an amazing one there. Okay, I do have another one here. Let me see if I can. Oh, actually, so this one's not so much an NDE, but it's talking about the third man. Now, if you don't know about the third man, I'm going to read an excerpt for you. Okay, so this is by John. I don't know if it's John Geiger, but it's Geiger. Okay, so in 1933, British explorer Frank Smythe almost became the first person to reach the summit of Mount Everest. Now, the journey to the top of the mountain was arduous and nearly disastrous. His entire hiking party had fallen back, unable to make it through the sweeping wind, snow, ice, and low oxygen. Smythe continued, but never made it to the top. He missed it by 1,000 feet. Later, writing in his diary, Smythe described something that scientists commonly refer to as the third man factor. He recounted how at one point on the ascent, he reached into his pocket, pulled out a slab of Kendal mint cake, broke it in half, and turned around to give the other half to a companion. But there was no one there. All the time that I was climbing alone, I had a strong feeling that I was accompanied by a second person. The feeling was so strong that it completely eliminated all loneliness I might otherwise have felt. Okay, so as Geiger explains, the third man is an unseen being that intervenes at a critical moment when people are in great stress or in a life and death struggle, to give comfort, aid, or support. And again, I've come across a lot of stories where there is a third man present. Maybe on my next video, when I'm more organized and have some on hand, I will share them. Okay, so now we're reading from Essays, The Mysterious Ghostly Third Man Who Visits Explorers in Distress. Now, Ernest Shackleton's epic tale of survival after the sinking of his ship, the Endurance, in Antarctic waters, is well known. But less known is what he and two of his companions experienced after they made their way by open boat above to South Georgia Island and trekked across a whaling station to find salvation. Now, each of the three felt the presence of someone with them. Now, during that long and racking march of 36 hours over the unnamed mountains and glaciers of South Georgia, wrote Shackleton in his memoir, it seemed to me often that we were four, not three. Okay, so I'll just share some experiences of the third man. So in 1898, a man by the name of Joshua Slocam shares this aboard his ship. So the Spray, I'm guessing that's the name of the ship, Slocam attempts to become the first person to circumnavigate the globe alone. However, food poisoning has left him incapacitated, and a violent storm has left the weakened sailor without much hope for making it through the night. It's in the middle of the storm that Slocum experiences something phenomenal, an unexpected visitor claiming to come to aid him. The visitor tells Joshua, "Lie quiet and I will guide your ship tonight." So Slocum makes it through the night without waves swamping his ship. Later, he would write a book about his experience, an international bestseller, sailing alone around the world. Okay, so that'll be an interesting read. So, considering he was by himself, and then all of a sudden somebody just magically appears in his ship and says, "Lie quiet, and I will guide your ship tonight." Like, that's a miracle. That's a guardian angel right there. Okay, so 1914 to 1916, again, this is Ernest Shackleton. So after the ice leaves Antarctic, after the ice leaves Antarctic explorer Ernest Shackleton and his crew trapped on an ice floe for 15 months, the men realize they will have to escape by sea if they ever wish to see humanity again. So, using small whaling boats, the men set sail into the unknown landing at the uninhabitable Elephant Island 3 days later. So, Shackleton's only hope is to continue sailing on to a whaling depot 680 miles away. Shackleton set sail for 14 days, taking 5 other men with him, miraculously reaching South Georgia, an island home of the whaling depot. However, they've landed on the wrong side of the island in the middle of a hurricane. So, taking 2 others with him, Shackleton now mountaineers through the heart of the mountain, reaching the whaling depot on the other side the following day. So a rescue operation saves every single man. So upon writing his memoirs, the story of Shackleton's last expedition, after the ordeal is over, Shackleton reveals the following. When I look back at those days, I have no doubt that Providence guided us, not only across those snowfields, but across the storm-white sea that separated Elephant Island from our landing place on South Georgia. I know that during that long and racking march of 36 hours over the unnamed mountains and glaciers of South Georgia, it seemed to me often that we were 4, not 3. Okay. So he felt that presence among him, and that's his testimony of that. Okay, June the 1st, 1933, Frank Smythe or Smythe. So Smythe attempts to reach the peak of Mount Everest. He spent 2 nights above the death zone as he waited for the weather to clear. Lack of food, oxygen, and sleep has made Smythe a pitiful mess. As he attempts to reach the peak, Smythe loses his footing, almost stumbling to the rocks below. His ice axe jams in a crack, keeping him from the fall. So Smythe would later recount, all the time that I was climbing alone, I had a strong feeling that I was accompanied by a second person. This feeling was so strong that it completely eliminated all loneliness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you would really feel the loneliness if you're traveling. If you're climbing Mount Everest and you're all alone, yeah, I'll definitely be feeling lonely. But, as he said, this feeling was so strong that it completely eliminated all loneliness I might otherwise have felt. It even seemed that I was tied to my companion by a rope, and that if I slipped, he would hold me. I remember constantly glancing back over my shoulder. Wow, what a comfort, eh? He didn't feel alone at all. And he could feel that there was somebody there with him, a presence. Okay, so April the 1st, 1983, this is by James, an experience from James Sevigny. So James and his friend Richard are spending the day mountaineering throughout the Canadian Rockies. It is the last day James will see his friend alive. As they make their way up Mount Deltaform, an avalanche sweeps both men all the way to the base of the mountain. When James wakes up, he has a broken back, arm, ribs, teeth, nose, and scapula. In addition to the in addition to the bone breaks, James has also torn ligaments in both his knees, has internal bleeding, has open wounds, and cannot raise his right arm. His friend Richard is dead. James lays down to die, but then 20 minutes later feels a presence. He felt someone behind him and heard a voice. No, you can't give up. You have to live. It told me what to do. The only decision I had made at that point in time was to lie down next to Rick and to fall asleep and to accept death. That's the only decision I made. All decisions made subsequent to that were made by the presence. I was merely taking instructions. I understood what it wanted me to do. It wanted me to live. Miraculously, James was able to crawl his way back to rescue, where cross-country skiers discovered him. James would live to tell the tale. Again, another miracle there. September 11, 2001. Don DiFrancesco. So it is the morning of September 11, and Ron's world has erupted in chaos. He's on the 84th floor of the South Tower. He struggles through the smoke down the stairwell. He and many others are forced to stop by a collapsed wall. Smoke is choking out oxygen in the room. DiFrancesco collapsed to the floor, and just then, something remarkable happened. Someone told me to get up, DiFrancesco would later state. The voice calling him Ron encouraged him to keep moving forward. Ron would later say, somebody lifted me up. I was led to the stairs. I don't think something grabbed my hand, but I was definitely led. Ron would recount after the ordeal. DiFrancesco ended up finding a way down the stairwell, even though a wall of flames blocked him off at one point. The voice led Ron to run through the fire. Ron was the last person to make it out of the South Tower alive. Well, that's a miracle, and again, a guardian angel there to assist and guide and lead him out. Daisy Luther, 2013. In 2013, Daisy is out hiking with family and friends. A misstep onto a loose rock sends her tumbling about 40 feet down a steep, rocking, bramble-covered ravine. She loses a shoe in the fall, lands on a large stone that was blisteringly hot in the California sun, and is bruised and abraded from head to toe. Her friend comes to help and retrieves her shoe. Then they begin to make the perilous journey back up the steep cliffside, slipping and sliding on the loose stones. But then something strange happens. A voice from the trail above them asks, "Are you okay?" Daisy's friend told the two hikers that she had fallen and we were trying to get back up the trail. Daisy tells the story. The man was down the side in a flash, holding out his hand to me. He told me to look into his eyes and said, "I swear I will not let you fall. Trust me." Then he said, "Dig deep," and he pulled me up 20 feet to safety in what seemed like only 2 steps. He helped my friend to the top as well. At this point, other hikers had stopped to help, offering water and a place to sit. I turned to thank our good Samaritan, and he and his companion were gone. I wondered, did I hit my head that hard? But my friend had also seen him, and he'd pulled her up also. So none of the other hikers seemed to know who we were talking about. To this day, I cannot explain who that man was, how he pulled me up so fast, or where he went. And again, I've read a lot of these types of encounters where somebody has helped somebody, and they get up or they turn around to say thank you, and that person's just disappeared, and nobody else seems to have even seen that person. Okay, yeah. So those are some of the near-death experiences for today's video. Hopefully, you feel inspired, or if you didn't believe in life after death before, hopefully it gives you some sort of hope. And if it doesn't give you any hope, then I'm not sure what will. But, live each day to the fullest, and just make the most of your opportunities here on earth. And the things that I have learnt or gotten, some of the main themes that come from these near-death experiences is that people recognize that they are loved, that they are, a daughter or son of God. What's the other thing? I like how a lot of them realize that they have a mission, just like the Savior Jesus Christ had a mission to fulfill here on earth. Like every single one of us have a mission to fulfill as well. And just from the hundreds of near-death experiences that I've read, something that I get from a lot of the people that have experienced this near-death is that some of them are given the option whether to stay or to return back. But I love how we're given that option, like free agency. We're given that agency to make choices. And I love how those people who have experienced near death, they just come back really enlightened and ready to just make the most of their life experience. And that it's not just all about them as an individual, it's about helping everybody. That we are all part of one big family, and that's we need to be there for each other. And times are tough for everyone, and if we can recognize when times are tough for somebody, that we try and reach out to share that burden and to lighten that burden for that person. Okay, so this is me, Helen Hotai, the diary reader, signing out for this week. Have a wonderful week, everyone. And that concludes our diary reading for today. Thanks for tuning in. And if you want your diary entry read on my channel, please email them to Helen Hotai, the diary reader, @gmail.com. This is Helen Hotai, the diary reader, signing out. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening. Bye.